Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner. Today I am with the owner of Charleston Taekwondo, Donovan Rider. Donovan, say what's up.
What's up, guys? Welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Cool. So, Donovan, this is your second time on the show. And I know before we started to hit record on here, we talked about you having 9 locations and you sold a couple of them, sold 3. Now you own 6. Some of them you're partners, some of them where you share equity, some you own outright. So, if you're a school owner and you're thinking, hey, I might want to sell to one of my instructors, or how do I value a school, or how do I go about selling, or how do I go I don't know, anything in terms of scaling or descaling, I guess, in your situation, this is going to be the episode for you because we're going to break it down and talk about piece by piece, and I'm going to kind of pick it apart so I can learn more. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So before we dive into that, just give us a little bit of background about your organization. So you have 9 schools and you sold a couple of them. Give me a little more specific.
Yeah, absolutely. So started Taekwondo when I was a little kid, 7 years old, rec center, fell in love with it. Probably similar story to a lot of people. Had success early on. I loved the competition side. I would consider myself a competitor and athlete in martial arts pretty much my entire life. I mean, I literally quit high school a year early to pursue Taekwondo full time as an athlete in the world class athlete program out in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And I did this my entire life. And then once after the 2012 Olympic trials, I tore my ACL, MCL, and meniscus in my third fight Olympic trials, and it was like at that point I was ready to come home, so I decided to move back home to South Carolina. But I actually moved to Charleston, South Carolina, and I'd visited here when I was a kid, but I didn't know a single person in Charleston. So literally moved here, just kind of showed up, got an apartment, and said, "Hey, something fun will happen here. We're at the beach, so it's a good town." And then wanted to start a martial arts program. I mean, honestly, it was one, the only thing I've done my entire life, and two, I was super passionate about it. So the goal was to share what I've done in my life experiences in martial arts with the community here in Charleston. So it started out at a rec program and then expanded. We finally opened our official location after about a year of doing rec programs. And then we only had one location for a very long time. And then right around the COVID kind of turn point here, we decided, hey, we're going to go all in on scaling and opening more schools. And since COVID, we went from 1 to 9 locations. And then, as you mentioned, yeah, I sold 3 this past year. So back in February, we sold 3 locations, and we currently have 6.
Okay, great background. And then I think the last episode, this is a while ago, but it just jogged my memory. I think we talked something about you were trying to run the schools completely through Slack. Was that you?
Not completely through Slack. We use a couple different apps that we run the schools from. And to your point, my role changed. I mean, over time, in the beginning, it's you do everything, right? Everyone knows that story. It's you're the janitor, the teacher, you're the salesperson, you do everything. And then we were fortunate to build a team of great people that wanted to get behind what we were building and our momentum here and our movement in Charleston. And it was still great. We were still super tight knit community. It was us versus the world. You know what I mean? It was like we're coming after it, dude. We want to grow. But then as it grew, my role completely changed. I mean, there was times the common question I get is how often do you teach classes? Never, honestly, never. Just because my role shifted to dealing with contractors, dealing with the town, dealing with red tape, dealing with potential investors. We didn't take on any investors, but really became more of just managing the system, managing the business. And all I did was open locations.
Okay, great. And then were you running it? Was that a Slack thing? Am I remembering that correctly?
I don't think that
Or is
was
that
me.
maybe that was someone else? Someone was telling me they were trying to run the entire school and manage their Slack. I'm like, good luck. I hope it works. I want to hear about it later, but never mind. I'll have to
Yeah, not
look
me.
back and find that out. Okay, so what made you decide that was it during COVID you decided to open up these locations or right afterwards?
So right before COVID, we decided, hey, we want to expand. It really, it came down to kind of, again, the age old story of I had a great team member that was in our program that if I didn't have an opportunity for, I was going to lose them. And it was like, we need to do this. We actually grew. The goal was never to have multiple locations. That's why I feel like it's funny. We're kind of known in our industry for one, for scaling quickly. And originally I was the guy, I was like, I want one school. And then also we're known for after school and summer camps. And again, I was originally like, I have no plan to ever do after school and summer camps. We started in a rec center, and then it was 1,000 square feet, and then 2,000 square feet, and then 5,500 square feet. And the goal was like just kind of grow that program and just have one big business that I can put my finger on and I can control everything inside of it. But what happened was we decided to expand because we had great people on the team that I was like, I don't want to lose this person. So we need to expand. So as we did expand, we look at them more of like an HQ plus satellite locations. So, it's been very successful, but the goal was really this was never the goal. It kind of fell into our lap, and then we got pretty good at it. But it was right before COVID, so it was 2019 that we decided to. At the end of 2019, we decided to open our second location.
Okay, got it. And then how long did it take you to get all the way to nine?
From 2019, we opened the second location, and then by 2020, by March of 24, we had nine.
Okay, wow, that's really fast. Uh, what did you have that many instructors on deck that you could just keep on adding locations? Like, where did all these instructors come from? I feel like usually that's the bottleneck for most people.
Absolutely, yeah, and it still is. I mean, for us, it was because we had grown this program, and I feel like we had a good reputation in the South Carolina area, the tri-state area, South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, and also Charleston's just a cool town. I mean, it's one of the fastest growing areas in the country. So we're getting people constantly moving here, and people were saying, "Hey, thinking about moving to the area. Would you have a position for me?" People that I had met in sport taekwondo and martial arts, and just said, "Hey, would you potentially have a position for me?" And again, we're always looking for great people. So if you're a great person, we'll put you on the bus. We'll figure out the seat later. So fortunately, we were able really to just from between people moving in and then our existing student population, we were able to secure instructors to open locations.
So, what's your model look like? Is it a one person run school, like one full time person, two full time people?
That's a great question. We always start with two, no matter what. So early on, not the case, obviously, but now that we're able to fund them, we start out of the gate with two managers. So we have the head instructor. Their goal is obviously everything on the mat, and then we have an operations manager. Their goal is really, or their focus is everything off of the mat. So that's the lead follow up, setting up events, running the after school program, overseeing the summer camp program. Anything that's not directly related to teaching martial arts really falls under the operations manager. Everything directly related to teaching martial arts, curriculum planning, curriculum design, training instructors, hiring instructors, leadership program, that falls on the head instructor. So we have two managers no matter what.
Yeah, so we're pretty much similar to that. We have a head instructor and then we call it program director, but essentially or enrollment director, basically the same thing, right? On the stuff on the mat versus off the mat. But I think it's important they both are able to overlap if they need to.
Yes.
Like if the head instructor's sick, for us at least, the program director should be able to teach classes. Maybe not be as good as the head instructor knows everything about every student. Or if the program director's sick, the other person should be able to teach a program at a daycare or be able to answer the phone or an email or whatever, right? They need to know each other's jobs. So when you first pay them, you're just paying them at like the school has making $0. You just pay them out of pocket.
We do. Yeah, absolutely. So when we open a school, we really have it down to a formula now. So we know roughly, there's a pretty simple math formula that we figure out what we're willing to pay for rent, how many students we can get inside of the location. Based on that information, what's the revenue going to be? And then we can really chart the plan and the progress for the instructors and the managers there. We do pay them out of pocket. So we start head instructors and ops managers. They're both at $36,000 a year out of the gate. It's one of those things that I think also the shift in perspective. I think a lot of people think, man, $36,000 each. Well, right, but it's actually only a couple $1,000s a month, right? So if this doesn't work out, it's really not $36,000.
You're not paying 36 right away.
Exactly. Yeah, we're paying it over time. We have time to build up. So, obviously, we want to open on. We've opened schools on a wait list. I mean, we've been fortunate enough to be able to do that. Post code, right around 2021, 2022, even 2023, we were opening schools almost at capacity. It was really wild. But then, the last two took a little bit more time, right? So we did pre-sales. But again, to your point, we do pay them out of the gate. And the way the instructors get paid is so they start at $36,000 as a full-time manager of a school. And then when that school gets to $10,000 a month in revenue, they essentially unlock a new pay structure, right? And then after that, it's every $5,000 increments. So when they get to 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, we have schools that do 120,000 a month. Basically, they're highly rewarded and incentivized to grow that location as quickly as possible. We don't get paid. Our break evens typically around the $20,000 to $22,000 a month range. So we got to get to that as quickly as possible. But they want to do that, right? Because they're going to get rewarded.
And are they typically interested in owning the school at some point, or
That's
is
a
that
great
something
question.
you have a conversation early about, or
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So before we decide to go into business or go into a partnership with a school owner, even if I own 100% of that location when I open it, the idea is that I'm going to fund the school, I'm going to get it open, and I'm going to coach you through the process of opening and filling that school as quickly as possible. But I want to know, as the owner and investor, I want to know that they see this as a career, right? The last thing I would want is an instructor to come in, work for 2 to 3 years, and then leave us, right? Because that's going to be a big hole to fill. Number one. So we have that conversation early on. We show the pay structure and then we show them, hey, here's how you're going to be able to buy into your school, to get equity into your school so that eventually you own it. I don't want to get stuck owning a location. So for us, it's always when are they going to buy? And then how do we figure out the math?
so tell me about, I guess, your model that you look for. So obviously you want rent I guess like what rent do you usually look for in the Charleston? It's going to be different depending on which area you live in the country. So this is a lot of variables, right? But what rent do you typically look for?
So it has shifted over time for sure. But the typical model we look for 15% or less for rent, revenue to rent, and we look at that as like a almost like a 80 to 90% uh, finish rate. So if a school is at 80% capacity, can rent be 15% or less of revenue? Beyond that, we want to make sure that payroll is at 35% or less. I'd like my operations expenses to be 20% or less. And that's going to leave the owner, the profit of the business, around that 30 to 35% range. Again, if we can get those numbers down, we can make even more profit. We have schools that do 45, 49% profit because of that lease structure, right? So again, that was a lot easier. We signed some leases 10 years ago when you're paying $22 a foot versus we have locations that are $40 a foot. At the end of the day, you have to be able to walk away if the deal doesn't make sense. So for us, typically right now, we're looking at kind of in that $30 to $35 a foot range for new locations. Our existing locations, especially, we typically do a 3-year lease. To make sure that this business makes sense, it's in this location, we get it profitable. Once that happens, we're down to sign a 10-year lease at a lower rate to lock that rate in.
Yeah, I learned recently from trial and error that whoever is the commercial real estate agent wants you to sign a 10-year lease immediately because they want to get, or a 5-year, 5 to 10 year, because they want to get the commissions on it. But it's actually worse for us. Like we thought it was better. Oh, we're locked in for 5 years, for 10 years. That's great. We're going to get rent. But we actually figured out it's worse because we have a bad tenant, which is we just had a bad tenant recently who stopped paying rent, didn't pay this electric bill. The electric bill was partially my fault. I was paying for it and then charged a cam. I should have just had him pay it directly. That was stupid. I learned from that mistake. Should have been in his name. It's dumb. And yeah, now we're like, okay, we're only going to sign people at max for 5 years and prefer 3 years and extend on from there. Also, you're paying less in commissions to the real estate agent, but it's in their best interest to do as long as possible. That way, they get their money,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's interesting too. A lot of my friends, it's funny, my close friends here in Charleston, obviously they're not in martial arts, right? Like they're not part of this industry. So hearing how other industries do things is pretty interesting. I have a couple of buddies that own restaurants, and it's not uncommon to lock a 20 or a 30-year lease in. 20-year lease is
That's
steam.
scary as hell.
It's like, wait, 20 years? Like, what if you got a business? And he's like, yeah, but we're going to get, especially if the area is growing, right? Charleston's a very popular area. For us, rents have, it's funny too. And my one advice I would say to people, once we started expanding, we hired a company to help us look at our demographic of our existing locations that do really well. And we're like, hey, where can we mimic this population, other areas of Charleston, so we can go there and just copy it right away. And so my agent was like, hey, send me all your current leases so I can look at them and negotiate on them for the future. He was looking at me and he was like, 2 of your leases, I don't think this is right. You don't have an escalation clause. Like there's no increase every year. And I'm like, no, there's not. He's like, how did you get that? Like, how does your rent not increase? We signed 2 of our locations have 5-year leases and there's no increase in rent ever.
That's
Cans, common
wild.
remains, everything. And he was like, how did you get that? I'm like, I don't know. I just asked the landlord. I just literally asked him for it. I think it's important. Ask for cut down on the rent increases, cut down on common area maintenance. If you can wipe that off, absolutely do it. Most places will say no to this type of stuff, but it definitely doesn't hurt to ask. We have 2 locations. We do not pay common area maintenance. It's baked into the lease. We have no rent escalations whatsoever, and they gave us TI to build out. So you'll never know until you ask.
Yeah, for people who are listening that don't know, what is TI?
So TI is like tenant improvements, right? So when you're opening a new location, they typically give you an amount per square foot to help you get open. In my experience, typically it's nice because you might see a number. We had one location that was like $75,000 in TI. I'm like, dude, this is amazing. Like we can open a school for this. Realistically, the landlords are smart though. So we got the TI of 75,000, but that's really what it costs to do the electrical, to do the plumbing, to do the AC. It was really to get the building ready so that we could do what we wanted to do. But still, it was nice for them to be able to.
Yeah, that's great. And then obviously, like the square footage, price per square foot's going to change depending on where you are in the city, when you actually sign the lease. I guess dollar wise, like what is the range you guys pay in rent? Are these all, by the way, are these all in shopping centers, like shopping malls sort of thing, strip centers, like
No, great question.
standalone?
No, most, yes. I would say 3 Three are in shopping centers and three are completely different. One's a standalone building in an office park. It's actually funny. So this is a interesting story. A lady was a martial arts school owner here in Charleston. Our first school was in Mount Pleasant, and then there's an area called North Mount Pleasant. It's not actually a city, but if you live here locally, you call it North Mount Pleasant. And there was a school up there, and this lady basically said, "Hey, look, I'm done doing martial arts. Will you buy my school?" So I met with her. It was my first time ever considering something like this. This was back in 2019. I was like, "Hey, look, I don't want to buy your school." In my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want to buy your school. However, I'd love to meet with you. And she had her lawyers there. And I was like, I just want to be a part of this process to figure out what is this like to negotiate a location. And they wanted like $30,000 for this. And it didn't have a lot of students. I think it had like 20 or 25 martial arts students. It had an after school program with like 10 to 15 kids. And after doing some digging, I reached out to the landlord and I found out she was about, I can't remember, somewhere 3 to 6 months behind in rent. Like she had not paid rent at all. So I went to the landlord basically and said, "Look, here's our program. We're the largest program in Charleston. We'd like to move to this area, but if I can work a deal out here, I don't want to buy her school. I don't think it's worth anything because especially she has the debt involved with it." So the landlord agreed that he would wipe her debt clean if she just gave me the location. So I went in and I negotiated with her and I said, "Look, I know you owe this. You basically want this money to back pay rent and get a little bit extra. So I'll tell you what, you can take all the equipment out. I just want the facility itself." And we decided to move forward with that. She accepted that deal. So same thing. We really got into this school. We had to upfit it. It cost us about $35,000 to upfit the school, but we started on day one with like 40 kids in that program, and 15 of them were in after school, and those kids are paying $550 a month. So really, we were able to grow that program pretty quickly. We got it to $30,000 a month in 6 months. But to your question, it's not an ideal location at all. I mean, literally next door to us is a State Farm, and then like two doors down is like a fencing company, but it's really it's like an office park, like you'd imagine. Uh,
Yeah,
an eye doctor or something.
you're not getting people walking by.
Never. No, not even, no, never. Like you wouldn't even know we're there. There's zero walk by traffic. There's a lot of drive by traffic, but again, you'd have to see the sign. So it's important for us to be able to market and get into the community to get people to go to those locations.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, the location that we had to kick someone out of, which was a terrible ending and cost us a ridiculous amount of money, we opened up, essentially assigned a lease to open up a bong shop next to our martial arts school, and we did it. I know, it was terrible. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna open a cigar shop," and it had been empty for like a year and a half, so we're really sweating it. And it was an expensive building that we owned. It was like one of the units in the building, and so it was empty. And this guy comes along, and we're like, "Yeah, okay, cool, you can open a cigar shop, but sorry, we don't want to do a cigar shop. Because we don't want smoke, like we have kids here, and another unit in the building is also a kids like focused facility. So we can't have a cigar shop. That's crazy." And they're like, "Oh, it's just to go. Like there's no cigars being smoked. There'll be no smoke in the facility." We thought about it, and then we made sure obviously it was written up in the lease. Like, all right, we'll do it. And then next thing you know, there's this bongs on the window, and and we're like, "Oh my god!" So it was really like a vape shop. It's like cigarettes and the kind of like a regular smoke shop. And we just didn't consider it, didn't think about it, and didn't realize. Oh, cool! People would be like a high-end cigar shop. People go in, pick out their cigar. It'd
Yeah.
be kind of nice. Maybe the dads will like it. I don't know. And it was hard. And the guy was terrible to deal with. They're always like seemingly smoking in the unit, and like it would smell like weed. It would drift into the school, and then I have to call them like, "We're not doing that." But where else would this possibly be coming from? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a headache, but it's a learning experience. I'll never, never, never sign anyone from a cigar shop or anything like that.
So as a landlord, I'm curious, what are I guess, what are your rights to deal with that? Are you kind of like, hey, no, there's a lease in place. There's nothing we can do.
It's one of those things that when we talk to lawyers, my brother did a lot of the investigating. We talked to like, I don't know, he talked to like five different lawyers, and it was like, yeah, you could win, but like, there's no proof of that, and like, it'll probably get dragged out in court, and it's just like not worth our time, energy, and effort. Really, is what it comes down to, right? If like that was our only business and we were sweating it, sure, but the amount of energy, like mental energy, it was costing us, like nonstop phone calls back and forth with him. So it's just not a very nice person, really, when it comes down to like he would scream at me, like raise his voice and yell at me on the phone. And like, "Do I can't believe it." And I'm like, no one talks to me like this. I don't talk to anyone else like that. Like, why? And then when he left it a total mess. So it cost us an extra, I think it was like 15 to 20 grand to redo the floors. And we just total, yeah, we probably were down 50 to 60 grand, I would say, as he walked out the door. And we're like, wow, that was good lesson learned,
Yeah,
right?
so look at it as you paid the learning tax.
Yeah, already tax. It's funny because one of our like commercial real estate mentors, she was like, "You rented to a cigar shop?" She was like, "That's like the number one thing. No landlords, commercial landlords never rent to." We're like, "Well, we're the idiots, right?"
Yeah.
So now we know. So okay, so let's go back. So when you look at, I guess, demographics for a location, I mean, obviously you know your area well, but are you looking for a certain amount of kids that live in the area, a certain amount of families, or are you just like, okay, this is close enough to Charleston, it's within the area, we're just gonna blanket it no matter what, it's all good.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So there's a couple things that we look for sure. One is just household income. We want to make sure we aim for over $100,000 a year in household income. That's a big one for us. We want to make sure that they can afford our services. Number two, we look for locations that have primarily a lot of elementary schools. Some don't. We have two schools. One of them that you're directly working with us. They have two schools in that area. But we
Yeah,
look for
small.
schools that typically have 600 plus kids. So there needs to be elementary schools in the area. The more the merrier. We have some schools that have 10 elementary schools in the area. We have some that have two. But as long as it's 600 kids plus, we feel like we can do well in that area. But I would say one extra kind of like pro tip or like tribal knowledge that we look for is we go to the school's website and we figure out how many kids are on paid lunch versus free lunch. So we have some schools. It's interesting. We have one of our locations, they pass a school to go pick up after school students at a different elementary school. So we literally drive right by an elementary school that's closer to us. Why? Well, 98% of those kids are on free lunch. So we're assuming that the majority of them will not be able to pay for our services. So we pass them to go to a school. We shoot typically for that 80% plus of kids that have paid lunch. And we know that, again, they're going to have disposable income to be able to pay for our programs.
How do you figure that out on the website?
It's pretty easy, especially with AI now. With the AI kind of built into Google, if you just search in your area, if you look at whatever elementary school paid lunch versus free lunch, it'll shoot the information out pretty quickly. This is just basic information that the schools have to.
Okay, got it. Got it. I was gonna say because anytime I look at a school website, most of the time it's like built. It seems like on like Microsoft, like Windows 98 or something, and it's so clunky. I'm like, how are you figuring out free versus paid lunch on there? But yeah, I
Yeah.
guess if you just ask Gemini or ChatGPT, they might be able to.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and that's been a big help for us to get into locations that one, household income, how many people live in the area, how many kids are in the area, and then who's actually paying for services in that area.
And then what are you doing okay, so like you decide, hey, these two people are going to open up the school. Here's how much we're going to pay you. They understand how much money they're going to make as the school increases. At what point do they get a chance to buy in?
Great question. It comes down to the numbers. Honestly, it comes down to the numbers. And to kind of back up as well to give more information here, only the head instructor has the ability to buy in. So not the operations manager or the program director, only the head instructor. The way we've typically done it is they need to get to a school to $30,000 a month in revenue. So we know at that point we're probably making close to 100 grand a year, if not over $100,000 a year, as the profit of that business. So I need to get them to $30,000 a month in revenue, and then they need to hold that for 6 months. Once they do that, because I don't want them to run some type of sale or we do a tournament or we do something and they just hit
Yeah.
it and it's like, okay, well, this was a fluke. So I want them to hit $30,000 a month for 6 months. At that 6 month mark, now they're able to buy in at that location.
Mm, okay, got it. So they know, hey, once that 30K for 6 months, I'm going to buy in. And
Exactly.
then, go ahead.
I was going to say, it also depends too. I mean, which we haven't had this issue, but I would say that I would consider the person as well. I mean, we're getting into bed together. We're essentially getting married to this business together. So if I don't feel like, they might be the best operator in the world, but if I don't necessarily trust is a huge thing to me. So it's like, are you on time? Are you in the right uniform? Do you look good? Do you smell good? Are you doing things the way that the Charleston Taekwondo way, right? The Patriot way. Like, are you doing it the way we would do it? As long as I have complete faith and trust in them to do that, then we can have that conversation. If not, I would not recommend going into business with anyone that you're not.
Yeah, I always think if I don't want to spend 5 minutes with you, I don't want to spend 5 years with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you walk in like sniff test them? Like, all right, come here, and just like check them out, make sure they put on deodorant.
They keep a little Axe body spray in the back room.
It's so funny. I hope he doesn't get mad at me for saying this, but one of my instructors is from another country, moved here, and I would say the deodorant he was using was not working that well. So I respectfully said, "Hey, like I think you want to use use something else." I'm like, "What are you using now?" He's like, "Axe." I'm like, "No, don't use X. I'm like, he's like, oh, I thought that's what people use. He's like, no, no, no. I'm like, it's not your fault. You'd have no idea, but that's what like teenagers use here, maybe.
Yes.
And like, I sent a better deodorant to his house, smells 1,000 times better, and he just didn't know, right? He just had
Yeah.
no idea until someone told him.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, okay, so let's go back. So, what do you value the school at, or how do you figure out how much to sell it? And are you selling, like, if you sell a portion of it, you selling 49%, 51%? What do you usually do?
Yeah. So I always, a couple things that are important to me. Number one, I want to own the majority of the school until I'm ready to sell the entire thing. So I have to have at least 51% or more until I'm ready to sell the whole entire clip. The second thing is I want the voting rights. So when we look at it, like at the end of the day, even if it is 51-49, which we haven't, I like 10% increments. My mind just works that way. Like it needs to be 10%
Okay.
increments. But say it's 60-40, for example. At the end of the day, I want the voting rights. I want to be able to make the decisions if we're rebranding, if we're moving, if we're not moving. Like, I want to be able to make the decisions that I think are best for the business. I want to contain or have control of the entity itself. So those are the two big points to me. So again, I'll sell in 10% increments. We've had people buy 10%. I've had people buy 30% of them. And the way we value it is it's a 2.5x multiple of the profit. So whatever the profit's coming in, it's 2.5 times that. But then we also factor in other things. So the way our program works, we typically keep about $50,000 in savings per location. Pre-COVID, that was 10. And then that first month goes by and you're like, oh man, we're still not open yet. And I have no money left. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
decided to keep a lot more money in savings. So we keep about $50,000 in savings per location. So again, if they're buying 10% of that, well, that's dollar to dollar, they owe 5,000. So whatever the 2.5x multiple of profit is, add another 5,000 to that. And then we have our buses. So all of our schools do after school programs as well. So we value the buses, and then we say, hey, you're buying 10% of this as well. So we package all that together, and then they purchase it. The way I
Got
like
it.
to do, or sorry, the
Sorry,
way I
go
like
ahead.
to do, yeah, the way I like to do it is the first 10% I will finance. So I will owner finance that first 10% because I want them to get bought in. Right? Most people, some of them it's been $50,000, $60,000, and it's like they just don't have it. Right? They're martial arts instructors who are making $60K a year, $70K a year. They don't have $60K laying around. So that first 10% I will owner finance it over a 12-month window at 0% interest. So it's probably not smart for me, but I know that I'm getting a partner, and then someone also that appreciates that, hey, they're getting equity, they're getting skin in the game, and then I'm willing to work with them and finance that for them. After that initial 10%, it has to be a buyout. So if like for example, I had someone buy 10%. I financed it for a year, and at the end of that, and he's a smart kid, he was saving money, and he's like, I want to buy 20% more. I'm like, got it. Well, this time I need a check. So he was able to secure that money and then write the check.
Did he just go get a loan somewhere from family or friends or a bank or something?
Yeah, so that's what I talked to him. He wanted to buy 20% more, and again, it is. I mean, I tell our staff all the time that I'm not hiding anything. Like if I own them, but if I were you, I'd want to own these things. Like the real wealth is built in equity, right? So I was like, if I were you, I would buy it. And he's like, I'm not sure if I can get a loan. At that point, he was probably like 23 years old. And he was like, I'm not sure if I can get a loan for this. So I was like, do you have friends, family, someone that you could reach out to that would potentially loan you this money and finance it? So he ended up buying 20% more. I think it was about $80,000 for 20% more. He secured that loan, got the money to me, and then basically paid them off for the next, I think, 2 years.
So if a school is, let's say, profiting 100K a year, so done with about 30K a month, so then with the buses and stuff, it'll end up the value would be about 250. So then if they want to buy 10%, it'll be like 25K or something.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, yeah, keep it really simple. All right, cool. And obviously the later they wait to buy it, the more expensive it is, most likely because the value of the school is high.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what I tell them from the beginning. Like you mentioned, is the goal to have them want to buy it? And absolutely, yes. But then again, I'm a very upfront, open book type of person. I let them know the longer this takes, the more expensive this is going to get. So if I were you, I would be planning right now, and I'm willing to work with them, and we're partners. So it's like, I want to work with you to buy this thing eventually, but I wouldn't wait too long because it does get more expensive.
Yeah, I totally get that. And then why not have the program director be able to purchase in? Like why the head instructor, not the program director?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's honestly something I'm not opposed to it. I would just say the way it kind of worked out. You ever kind of look up one day and you're like, we do it this way because that's the way we did it.
That's how we did it,
And
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So the way it originally worked was our first location. The head instructor, his name's Luke there. we've known each other since we were in middle school. We did Taekwondo together. I convinced him to move here. He literally, I'm still, this was like a turning point in our business. And I don't know how I convinced him to do this, but I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Charleston and he had just got married. I mean, he's like 2 months into his marriage. He's 3 hours away from me. And I was like, Luke, my school's growing. I need an instructor. I need someone I can count on. I know you know martial arts and you're great with kids. You should move here. He's like, dude, I literally just got married and just signed a lease. And I was like, you could just live with me. Like, just come, you and your wife can stay with me. And he's like, yeah, I'm not moving in with my middle school friend, with my wife. And I was like, how about this? Come for the summer. This was like in April or May. I was like, come for the summer, stay with me this summer. You don't pay anything. I'll pay you to come here. At that point, though, I was only making about $800 a month. So I was like, look, I'll give you the $800 and I'll show you in my bank. This is what I make every month. I'll give it to you. I'm going to go to zero, but I believe in it so much. You can live in the extra bedroom in my apartment. And then on the weekends, you can go home and see your wife. And he was like, all right, I'll give it a whirl. I'll give it a whirl. And at the end of that summer, we doubled our program. Like, we grew the program throughout the summer, just having someone else that I trusted and knew. And it allowed me to not do everything, right? Like, we could really divide and conquer at that point. So they decided to move down at the end of that summer. They've been here ever since. I mean, he kills it in life and they do really, really well. But because of that, to your point, we'd been I guess, working together in the business at that point for probably about 3 or 4 years. And he came to me and, I'll be honest, I got some I say good business advice at the time, but same thing, it didn't work out later. So at the time, I got business advice that said, hey, pay him. My mentor said, pay him 15% of revenue. That's what he gets. That's fine when you're doing up to $30,000 a month. That's not crazy. We grew that school to doing $100,000 a month, right? So it was like, okay, I can't pay you this. I can't pay you that much money. The math is not mathing right now. Luckily, we're friends. We're able to sit down. He's like, look, honestly, I'm okay. I'm good financially. Like, I'm good where I'm at right now. I want to be a partner. Like, I don't want to work for you. I want to work with you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, like, what does that look like? And he's like, I want 10%. And I was like, okay, well, there's still a value attached to it. So would you be willing to purchase it? He said, yeah, no, let's make it fair. Let's get it valued. And that's when we did the 2.5X. It was the first time we ever did it, 2.5X multiple plus the cash in the bank. I financed it over a year for him. But because we were friends and he was the head instructor, that's just kind of how it worked out, that he was my first partner. And then when we opened the second location, it was the same thing. So when he came in, he was the head instructor and we did the partnership deal that way. So in my mind, I'd like to say, I think the way our model is set up, the head instructor is a lot harder to replace. The head instructor leaves, like, I'm on the mat teaching every single day, not something I'm super passionate about doing at this stage in my life. The operations manager, which in the past, we really haven't had any leave. We've had 2 leave in 13 years. So that it does happen, but we can replace them pretty quickly. Whereas a head instructor leaves, I have a pretty big, issue on my hands. So I'd like to have the golden handcuffs more with the head instructor versus the operations.
So have you ever opened up a school and then someone dipped out like 2 weeks later or a month later, and you have to like find someone to cover for them?
As far as an instructor?
Yeah, or
Fortunately, no.
instructor,
Fortunately,
no.
no. We've
All
only
right.
had 2 operations managers leave, and like I said, in 13 years. One of them basically came to me, and she was making probably around $50,000 a year at the time. And she's like, "Hey, I got a job offer. They reached out to me, made this offer. I wasn't actively seeking anything, and they offered me $75,000, and I could do remote. I can work from home." And I was like, "I think you should take that job because I'm not
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
pay you 75K." And working remote was appealing to her at the time. So I just said, hey, look, I totally support you. I think you should take it. She took it. We're still friends, but she's just not involved in our business anymore. And then we basically got rid of one manager, an ops manager, just because she wasn't hitting her benchmarks.
Okay, got it. Okay, so then my next question is, you have your schools that some of them you do partnerships, some of them you sell out, right? Right. So how do you figure out which ones to keep some percentage of and which ones to, I'm just going to sell this completely?
Yeah, so the goal was always to kind of compartmentalize it. So sell them in 10% increments. So whether that's 10%, 20%, 30%, again, I want to retain the majority ownership of them. That was the original plan. And then probably at the end of summer last year, one of my instructors came to me and he was a partner on his school. He owned 15% of his location. And he came to me and basically said, look, like, this has been great. He's a killer operator, man. Like, he opened June 1st, 2020. June 1st, 2020, like in the middle of COVID. Within 12 months, on his 1-year anniversary, they had over 300 students at their
That's
program.
wild.
Yeah, it was great. Year 2, they did $800,000 in their second full calendar year.
That's crazy. He's a
Yeah, like
monster.
he's a killer operator, and he just really needed. He's a prime example of someone that had been in other programs that was not getting taken care of, was not getting paid for the work he was doing. And I saw this and I was like, this kid's a killer, man. Like, I'd love to have him on my team. And I said, look, you can buy into the business. So he bought in at 15% out of the gate. He's the only person I've ever sold a percentage to from the beginning. So he had 15% out of the gate, crushed it, killed his school. And then we were together for about 4 years. And then he came to me and said, I'm going to be honest, like, I want to own this whole thing. Like, I want to do it. I want to run the show. I want all the profit. And I'll be honest, my initial thought was like, no, like, I'm not selling anything. Like, we're doing this together, man. But then, when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, I can't fault him for that. Like, why would he not want? I would want to own the entire thing too. So I totally understood where he was coming from. And at the point, again, you start looking at the numbers, and we were at 9 at that point. So we had 9 locations. As you know, I mean, you guys have a massive organization. Like, it can become overwhelming sometimes. Like, we have potential of, we have 9 locations. That's 18 full timers. Plus, we have some support staff. I mean, we had 22, 23 full time staff members in addition to part timers. It just became a little hectic, a little chaotic at times. So I thought, okay, I can take some off of my plate. And we basically came to the deal. I just said, look, I'm willing to sell you your location outright, completely own the entire thing, but you have to buy one more location with it. And the reason I did that, to be completely fair and honest, is because we opened our 9th location. I sold him the 9th one. So our 9th location, we had just opened. It was 3 months old. He lives a quarter of a mile away. The idea was for him to oversee that location in addition to his and run that location. Well, it's about an hour from my house. So if I sell his, now I'm responsible for this location an hour each way without traffic. He lives right there. I know he wants to be a multi-school owner. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll sell you the school for what I'm in it for. So I showed him all the receipts, everything like that. And then fortunately, the SBA said, yeah, we'll bundle this thing up. And they bundled it up, wrapped it all together, and we did the deal.
Wow. So the SBA provided the loan and you got paid like a fat check at once as opposed
Correct.
to
Yeah,
financing. Ooh, that's nice.
February was the most money I ever made in my life. We had a lot of things kind of come full circle. We sold 2 locations. I sold one of my beach properties. So we had Airbnbs. We bought a lot during that 21, 22 when interest rates were super low. We got a couple beach properties. We got a cabin in the mountains. We decided to start selling those off. So, sold 2 locations, sold a property. And then I also like to do hard money loans for like apartment complexes. And one of those came full circle. So February was the most money I've ever made in my life.
You're right. This is February's best month ever. Amazing.
Yeah. And I turned
funny.
Well,
Oh my God. Well, they say like you always accomplish the most at the last year before the new decade. Like 29, 39, 49, 59. Because you're like in a rush. I'm going to turn 50. I'm going to turn 40. So like you naturally do more. I think that was like in a Malcolm Gladwell book or something.
yeah. No, I mean, I'd say that's been true for me.
Okay, cool. And then, so in the future though, you do a lot of seller financing because most people, I'm assuming, can't get a loan like that. I mean, that worked out great. I'm glad it did.
Yeah.
But are you pushing people to get SBA loans, or are you most of the time financing yourself?
So, like I said, so far the only way I've done it is 10% financing, 10%, that initial 10%. After that, they need to figure out the loan
Oh,
situation.
right.
Yeah, that's what I've always done it so far. I'm open to seller financing. I'm not against that for sure. And that's probably going to have to be the case for most martial arts schools. And we're no exception to that. But ideally, if I can, I would like to get paid in a one lump sum just because I'm always looking for opportunities. Again, we had a great February, but I would say I've already deployed 90, 95% of that into other deals outside of the martial arts industry that are paying great returns as well. So I would prefer to get the money up front so that I can deploy it somewhere else.
Yeah, totally get that. And so you're doing hard money loans also? How'd you get into that?
No, great question. So most of my close friends here in Charleston are just real estate investors. So it started out with real estate agents, and a lot of them, progress through that and they become investors. So I've done I've done millions of dollars in hard money loans. I have about 600,000 currently in a private equity fund that's doing a guaranteed 10% paid monthly. I have another one that is 12% plus 1 point of what I've invested. I kicked them a lot, about 400,000 recently as well on a flip in Indiana. So I'm always looking for opportunities to invest money with guaranteed returns, essentially.
Yeah, cool. Is it actually guaranteed, or they just say? Because I feel like I've heard that before. Then, like, if things happen wrong, it's like, oh yeah, sorry, it's not guaranteed.
Oh no, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I think the fine print's important. One thing
Yeah,
I've done, again, these are friends of mine, so you like to trust a little bit more, but I don't know, it could be a bad thing. But number
yeah,
two, yeah, the deals I've done so far, I always have them sign a PG. So sign a.
got it. Okay, well, if you ever need any extra cash for that, let me know. I'm happy to take guaranteed 10% any day of the week.
Absolutely, I'll definitely connect you.
Yeah, cool. And then, I guess I have a couple like rapid fire questions. So now we understand the model, right? Like we understand whether you're selling a piece of it or selling the whole or the whole amount. But actually, before I get to my rapid fire, eventually you're going to run out of space in Charleston, right? Charleston is, if you have 9 locations, that covers a pretty large area. Like, what happens next? You go to another city that has the same demographics, or you feel like, all right, I just go to a different industry, or what do you do?
No, it's a great question. So we did have one of the nine. One was about 2.5 hours away. It's actually Columbia, South Carolina. I mean, it's a drive. It's one of the. It's actually funny. We had a school. We partnered with the school owner there for 2 years, and I'd actually only been to that school one time ever in my entire life, and we were 50% partners on it. And it was just a great situation. So the way it worked out was it was a school owner, a friend of mine. We've known each other since middle school or probably high school. He wanted to grow his business, so we just started connecting privately about how to grow, and we grew his school from $7,000 to $20,000 a month in under a year. And he was like, "Hey, I want to work. I want more of this. How do I go to the Fountain of Youth? Like, how do I get more of this?" And I said, I just presented him with an opportunity. I said, "Look, I'd love to work with you, but I want it to be worth my time as well. So I'd like to get 50% of your business, no money down, and we'll partner on this. And if there's any upside." So at that point, he was doing $20,000 a month. Anything we grow on top of that, I just want half of it. But so far, you've done this, and you get to keep that. And then we grew that school almost to $40,000 a year in that next 12 months. So it was very lucrative for us. It was great for him because really, if the business grows, great, he makes money. If it doesn't grow, he got really essentially free partnership and coaching for an entire year. So it was a great deal for us. So that was kind of the idea of. Also for me, it was a great way to start looking into what would it look like to own a school or own schools in another area of South Carolina. How could we manage it from 2 hours away or 3 hours away? What are the demographics like? Our goal, once we did that, the goal was, hey, we need to open 3 or 4 more as quickly as possible. I think having one school far away does not make any sense whatsoever because if there's an issue, we can't go help it. However, if we can get 3 or 4 schools open quickly, we can put a regional director in place and they can oversee those locations. So if we decide to, again, expand outside of Charleston, the goal would have to be to get to 3 as quickly as possible, like open 3 within 24 months. Otherwise, I don't think it makes sense.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. How you say that? We have two abroad locations. One of them is in, so most of our schools are in Philadelphia, New Jersey area, right? One of them, my sister experimented opening in Martha's Vineyard, which is not anywhere. It's a plane ride, and it's a plane and a ferry ride, right?
Wow.
Like so, or like a 6 hour or 7 hour drive or something like that. But usually a fly. And we all told her not to. Bad idea. And she was like, "I want to try it. I don't care. Income's high." We're like, "Well, it's a seasonal place. People go there on vacation." And she decided to open it, and she's like, "I don't care. I'm gonna do it." And then it didn't work out. Right? It was a lot of back and forth, too hard to manage. And I was so proud of her. Like I was like, "I love how ballsy you are. Like you
Yeah.
tried it a year and a half, whatever. It didn't work. So I think it was around a year and a half. I don't know. I could be wrong. It didn't work. All good. Like who cares? Like you messed it up. You lived, you learned. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna be the person to say "told you so" on that. Right? Like I think it's cool that you tried it. And then we have another location in Tampa, Florida, which is like a best friend of one of the school owners, and he's definitely very much a part of like all of our online meetings. But it does feel like some person who's just kind of out there who knows what really happens, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like yeah, because you're far away from the core, you run out of stupid stuff. You run out of like uniforms at a certain size, some sort of event. You're like, oh crap! Like I need help. It's nice to be able to go to another school and just grab them,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. We do that all the time. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's always going to be little tiny things. Two people get sick at the same time, and you need an instructor. And I think going too far away from the core is tough. So, how much is your revenue from the core martial arts program versus after school versus summer camp?
Yeah, no, it's so if we look at martial arts, typically speaking, if we have our martial arts program and then we kind of just bundle the after school and summer camp. I could definitely break that down a little bit further. But it's about 50-50, honestly. If you look at our revenue overall, 50% come from martial arts, 50% after school and summer camp.
What do you like more?
Personally, I like martial arts. I like the martial arts side of it. I think there's a couple of things. One, I just did it my whole life. I'm passionate about it. I like teaching. It's funny, we've kind of talked about this offline a little bit. It's like I don't want to have to be to school every day. That's the stage I'm at currently in my life. I don't want to have to be to school every day, but occasionally I jump in on the mat and cover down and help someone out. And when I do it, it's like going into the day, I'm like, oh, I got to teach today. Like I got to be on the mat for 4 hours, 6 hours. But when I'm there, I'm like, this is awesome. I love doing this. This is so much fun connecting with the kids and the parents and getting back out there. So I just love teaching. I love martial arts. I love Taekwondo. However, it's also pretty cool too to see like the after school program, like the way we do it. We do it a little bit differently than a lot of people in the industry. We're very structured around it. We involve martial arts into the after school program. So it's just very structured. I like the way it works. It's more like a well oiled machine. Like I said, we have one school that is only after school and summer camp programs. And it's a machine, dude. Like it makes money. We opened that school with 75 kids on day one in our area, and paying $550 a month each. So like on month one, we're breaking $35,000 a month in the first month. So I think if you do it right, it's fun and lucrative. But if I had to choose what to do, I love martial arts.
Cool. Yeah, I know that sometimes I'll get school owners who talk to me on the phone, and they're thinking about doing after school or summer camp. And the only reason they're doing that is because their martial arts program isn't very good. And I'm always like, listen, you could do that. You could make a lot of money. It's definitely possible. People are great at it, but it's like you have to understand it's like another type of business. So then you're adding just more anxiety and more stress and more expenses on the business you don't know how to run now. Like I don't think that's a good idea,
That is
right?
perfect advice. And I think more people should say that. I think obviously the last couple of years, especially, it's been a big push, like add after school programs. It is a separate business in the same building. That's all it is. And they do marry back and forth. Like they send, students back and forth, and it can be a great marriage. But it is a different business. It is a different buyer. It is a different need. It is not the same thing at all. I have a lot of questions. A lot of people will reach out to me and have questions and ask, I'm thinking about doing after school or summer camp. What are your thoughts? I tell them I give them ways that they can tiptoe into it to try it before going all in on it. Because one, you might not like it. Again, I had no desire to do this, and we pick up 550 kids a day now. So it's like one, you just might not like it. Number two, it is completely different. The challenges you face in martial arts are not the challenges. I tell more often than not, my advice to people is don't do it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I think for most people, when they come ask about it, it's usually out of desperation, not out of like, hey, my school's already doing 60K a month. They're trying to figure out how to make more money, right? It's usually like we don't teach good classes, we don't follow up on leads, but like we should do this other thing and get a bus.
100%. That's exactly, and that's usually how it goes. And unfortunately, it fails.
All right, I have some rapid fire questions for you to make this fun, even more fun, I would say. And then I think we should do another episode on what you do for pre-launch to get people to fill up the schools before it opens.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I would love to have. I feel like that's like a whole other topic we can do. Just even if it's like a 20-minute episode, like that single topic. So by the way, if you're listening right now and you want that, comment below. Hey, I'd watch that, or hey, I want to see that, and it'll maybe push us along to do it sooner. And by the way, for people who are listening, as a little, I don't know, transparency. Also, Donovan recently joined my program for one of his schools. So he's focusing on one of his schools for Triangle Codex, which is our 3-step system for organic marketing. And so he's working together with me. So we talk all the time now, which is great. And we're focusing on growing his schools through the local education system. I'm really excited to have you on board. Every time I get a school owner who's like multi-school owner, which is what I get a lot more now than ever, which is wonderful, it's just way better conversations. I truly enjoy it. So I'm
I've
happy to
had
have
so
you
many
on
people
board.
reach out too, asking about it, and I'm like, hit him up, man. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Don't go to him. He's terrible. His haircut's awful. All right. Let's go next. All right. So we're going to ask some rapid fire questions. So first one is, who would be on your martial arts Mount Rushmore?
Ooh. Um, Again, I'm a Taekwondo guy, so I'm going to go more Taekwondo face here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go Taekwondo. People are going to watch this and hate me. I would say, ooh, good question. I would say Juan Moreno for Taekwondo. If you know Juan Moreno, two-time Olympic silver medalist, huge deal. I'm going to stick to U.S. players. I would say Arlene Lemus, first Olympic gold medal for female. I would say Terrence Jennings, just a good buddy of mine. Terrence Jennings, bronze medalist in 2012 Olympic Games. We're just really good friends. We pushed each other. We've competed against each other multiple times. It's funny. We've literally like slept on each other's couches and then fought each other at like a team trial. So, but the fact that he was able to do that, and then I don't know, I can't probably the Lopez family, I guess, the Stephen, Mark,
Okay.
Diana, Gene. I mean, they put Taekwondo kind of on the map, I guess, as far as doing it collectively. So that'd be
Cool.
my.
I don't know any of those people. So great. Next one. Unless you said like Conor McGregor. But yeah. All right. Next one. I know he's not talking about it. All right. Next one. One. Okay. What's your least favorite martial arts style? Ooh,
Good.
this is gonna get you in trouble more than the other one.
It's funny. I will say this. I've done one jujitsu class when I was like 21 years old. I got my ass handed to me to like a 15-year-old kid who had been wrestling before. I'm like training full time now. And yeah, I got my ass kicked. So I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. But I definitely see the value. I would say Kung Fu, honestly.
Kung Fu.
Kung Fu. I
Okay.
don't get it. I just don't get it.
Oh, okay. I feel like for me it's Aikido. I think Aikido is, I've taken probably, I don't know, 6, 7 Aikido classes and workshops at random places, and I cannot get into it. I think it's weird. Kudos to you if you love it and it's great. It's just for me, not for me. Okay. What's one belt color you think should be eliminated?
Anyone that does the camo
Camel
belt is
belt?
like the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
All right. Hates the camel belt. Um, Name a martial arts move that looks cool but sucks in a real fight.
In Taekwondo, we have this random thing which we teach. We do some forms. We don't do all the traditional forms. We do some forms, but there's some things that I'm like, what the hell are we doing right now? Like this makes no sense. They have this one move in the red belt form. It's like a scissor block, like, and you're basically blocking two strikes at one time. And I'm like, you would never do this. This is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, well, Kempo Karate, which is what we teach, has lots of that.
Yeah.
I know what that's about. All right, so let's see here. What makes someone coachable and what makes someone impossible to help?
Yeah, I think coachable is really just the attitude, willing to show up and just be a cup, right? Just like willing to be poured into. We have seen it directly with our staff. The people that are the most coachable win faster. They grow their schools faster. The people that don't take the advice don't grow, and then they get upset that they're not growing. So I think most coachable is just like showing up and being willing to pour into and understanding that I don't know have all the answers. Again, we have 9 schools and been open 13 years. We hired you to help us. I'm like, I want to know how you do what you do. Like, be coachable. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know. I'm like, we're asking you questions. I'm a white belt right now, so like let's learn everything I absolutely can. Someone that can't be helped is just the attitude, man. Like I just can't. There's even I hate to say it, there's even people in our industry that are leaders in our industry, gurus, if you will, and some of the attitudes just like get me, man. I'm like drop the ego, be humble, be respectful, and like let's grow together.
Yeah, I even had someone message me the other day. First of all, I completely agree, but I had someone message me the other day and they're like, "But how old are you?" And I'm like, "Well, I think that's not important. Let's talk about like our conversation more about you." He said, "Okay, thanks," and he blocked me. And I was like, "All right, bro, like, because I'm not 70 years old. Like, I don't. What do you want me to do?"
Story.
All right, cool. So let's see here. Okay, what would be your walkout song if you were a UFC fighter?
Easily Biggie hypnotized, man.
Hypnotize. Okay, cool. Go on.
Anything Biggie, I'm down.
Okay, love that. All right, last one. What's something people would be surprised to know about you?
Good question. I'm trying to think of. I always have like the weird thing when people are like, "Tell me something no one knows about you," but mine's really weird.
Wait, what is yours? Wait, what?
It's weird, but it's just weird to even share. I was born. I only have one
Wait, you're
kidney.
not gonna share it? You're just gonna leave it
No,
like that?
I'll share. I'll share. It
Okay.
is weird. It's just not like related. I was born with one kid. I was born 2 months premature, so basically born almost like a stillbirth type thing. We had a really bad complication when my mom had me, and then they basically had to like bring me back to life. And then they found out once I was growing, they're like, actually, he only has one kidney. So when I joined the military, actually, you have to get the physical, and they did the test, and they were like, actually, you only have one kidney. And I was like, yeah, that's I know about that. And they were like, is everything normal? You function properly? And I'm like, no, everything's good. I'm healthy. Like I'm joining to be an athlete. Like I'm good. And they were like, cool. Well, you have 2 working kidneys as far as we're concerned. So they
Yeah,
signed up for me to join the military.
to the front lines. I know they
Yeah,
didn't do
like
that,
that. Yeah.
but is there anything else you want to add? Anything else that people would be surprised about? I feel like there was something else you were gonna say until I had to hear that.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. No, I think that's about it.
Do you have any hobbies outside of Taekwondo or running businesses? Like, what's like, give you something that you do that maybe people don't realize? Like, don't say read. Like, come
Yeah,
on,
no,
what's something? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, no. I am weird. It's funny. I actually recently started working with a mentor, obviously outside of our industry, really just kind of doing some like clarity and like soul searching of like, uh, what does success look? I'm always like trying to learn from other people. I'm like, what does success look like? How can I better define what I think a successful life would be? Especially I'm 40, right? I'm hopefully not halfway yet, but you never know. So I'm like, all right, how do I get maximize the most time I have left in my life? And I'm working with a mentor, and he gave me all these personality tests, and one of them was basically what are your hobbies? And for me, it's martial arts and business. I mean, that's all I like. It's all I read about, and it's all I'm really interested in. If I'm honest, like I like winning, I like competing, and I competed as an athlete. Now I feel like I compete in business, so it really does consume me. I do like to read, but the other thing I would say I try to do every single day, I like to go for really long walks. I was going to say long walks on the beach, but that just being trying to be romantic.
I would hang up on you immediately. I can't deal with this guy.
Hang up. No, I'm a walker, man. Like when I get anxious about something, when I get stressed about something, when I get excited about something, like I'm a mover. Like you probably see me just moving now. I'm a mover. I need to be moving constantly. So I just feel better after a very long walk.
Yeah, I 100% do the same thing. It's mainly what I do on weekends, I would say, is long walks. We'll just usually my girlfriend and I will go to some place for dinner where we'll either usually like Uber there and then walk back like 2.5 miles or three
Yeah.
miles, and I love that. But now because I'm in South Florida, I do what's called mango walks, which is I walk around and try to find mango trees. So it's like is there like so it's kind of like walking with an activity. It's like can I find a mango from someone's tree that's not on their that's maybe on their front lawn but it overhangs into the street, so I'm allowed to grab it and like
I remember
so.
watching this. I was going to say, have you broken any rules or laws to acquire a mango?
I may have one time went into someone's lawn and grabbed one that was off the ground. Then, so I would say that. But I did feel bad about it. But I also like when mangoes are about to, they haven't really fallen yet. When they're about to fall, there'll be 500. It's like they give it away to people. No, I usually, I mean, I do not like go onto their property to grab it. I would say the one that was kind of interesting was I did find a property that was for sale that no one lived in,
Hey,
and there's a big mango tree in the front. So I felt okay going there. And every day, or I would say every other day, I go and check it. And the other day I walk by and basically all the mangoes were gone. Someone literally just like shaved the entire tree. And there was going to be tons of, and I was like devastated. I was like, no, this is the one that I can actually go and get, not like, feel bad about or something. So now I'm just trying to find friends with mango trees because mango is my favorite fruit. And I just like, have you ever had like a fresh mango, like not from a supermarket, from a tree? It's totally different. It's a different thing. It's a candy.
it is, yeah. No, I agree. It's funny when we went to military world championships in Brazil in 2011, and same thing. I had mangoes here and there, but they were like fresh off a tree in Brazil, and I was like, "This is the best thing I've ever had in my life."
A
Like
hundred
it was
percent.
just different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so now I'm trying to find like a friend with a mango tree because there's still lots of them, but I'm not gonna go pick one off a tree from someone's lawn. That's just effed up, right? Like I would do that. But if it's like hanging over, I looked up the law on ChatGPT. If it's hanging over a fence, it's on the street. Can I grab it? It said yes, you can. I'm like, okay, cool.
All right, yeah.
So yeah, maybe I could just eventually find someone who has a tree that'll just give me like a giant basket. I could just swim in mangoes all day. Yeah, that is the measure of success.
That is the measure of success. In case you were
Yeah.
wondering.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. We'll have to do another episode about pre-sales or pre-launch. We're, I would say, like not that great at that. So I'd love to hear what you do too. If you have any questions and you're listening to this, you can email me, Matthew@wdojo.com. If you want to work on organic marketing for your school, reach out, which is, and even if it's summertime, we'll show you how to do it with summer camps and daycares. And when the school year comes around, obviously we'll do it with schools too. And if people have any questions, how do they find you, Donovan?
Yeah, guys, I'm online, Facebook and Instagram, just Donovan Rider. It's Rider. It hangs up a lot of people. And again, guys, just I want to say thank you to Matt for having me today. Again, if you're thinking about growing your school organically, we've seen a huge shift. Majority of our programs grew online, and that helped us grow. But now we're seeing a shift, and we're really big in the community, growing our brand locally and organically. Matt Brenner is your guy. Reach out to him. It is worth every penny.
Cool. Thank you. I'll have to send you a couple mangoes for saying that. All right. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.